Let's talk about something that pretty much every creator thinks about. Why do so many YouTube channels just fail? The numbers are kind of staggering, but you know what? The reasons behind them are surprisingly predictable. And if you understand those reasons, well, that's the first step to actually beating the odds. So, let's get into it.
First, just to get a sense of scale, let's wrap our heads around this number. There are over 155 million channels on YouTube. That is a massive, incredibly crowded platform. Just making your voice heard in a sea that big is a huge challenge right from the get-go.
Okay, so you've got all those channels, but get this. A full 90% of them, 9 out of every 10, will never even cross that first big milestone, 1,000 subscribers. It's wild. The vast majority of channels that are started never really even get off the launch pad.
So let's zoom in a little. What about what most people would call making it? Getting that silver play button for 100,000 subscribers. That's a huge deal, but only 0.6% of channels ever get there. That's about one channel out of every 167.
And then there's the dream, right? The big leagues, 1 million subscribers. Well, the reality is kind of brutal. Less than 0.05% of channels ever hit that mark. We're talking fewer than 1 in 1,000. The odds are just incredibly, incredibly slim. When you see numbers like that, it's so easy to feel discouraged, right? To think, what's the point? But here's the thing. It's not about luck. The creators who succeed aren't just doing the same thing but harder. No, they are playing a completely different game with a different set of rules. So what exactly is their playbook?
So how does it actually happen? How did 99% of channels end up failing? Well, it turns out it's not random at all. There's a very well-worn path that leads people to quit, and it usually has 3 predictable steps. If you can recognize this pattern, you can avoid it.
This is the classic journey that so many creators go on. It all starts with a big dream, then it moves into this phase where it feels like you're making progress, and then bam, reality hits. Let's break down each of these pitfalls.
It almost always begins right here, with totally unrealistic expectations. New creators look at their favorite YouTubers and think, hey, that looks pretty easy. I'll just record, upload, and my first video will go viral. They dream that once they hit 4,000 watch hours, the money just starts pouring in. But when reality sets in, that it's incredibly hard work for almost no reward at first, that initial excitement just fizzles out.
So what happens when that first video gets like 12 views? You turn to YouTube for answers, right? You start searching for how to get more views. You watch video after video, and with each one, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine. It feels like you're making progress. But here's the trap. You're learning, but you're not doing. You're stuck consuming info without ever actually applying it. And this leads right to the final and often fatal mistake, the experience gap. Look, you can watch 10 hours of tutorials on how to make a great thumbnail, but that doesn't mean you can suddenly design one. You know that good editing helps with retention, but that doesn't magically make you a good editor. See the gap? Knowledge is not the same thing as skill, and skill only comes from practice and failure and doing it over and over again.
Okay, so that's the roadmap to failure. Pretty grim, right? But let's just flip the script. If you can learn to navigate those 3 pitfalls, you are already so far ahead of the game. So now it's time to dig into what the top 1% actually do. And these aren't secret hacks, they're core principles for real, actual growth.
This isn't just a simple checklist. It's a fundamental shift in your entire mindset, and it covers everything from how you think to how you work. Let's really unpack the most important ones.
First things first, and this one is huge. Be realistic. Here's a hard truth for you. A lot of people want to be a YouTuber, but very few people actually want to make videos. You're going to put in hundreds of hours on videos that get 10 views. You'll probably wait months, maybe even years for any kind of consistent income. But if you set your expectations low, every small win, every single new subscriber, every nice comment feels like fuel, not a failure.
This second principle is absolutely crucial. So many people quit right before they might have seen a breakthrough. A perfect example is the creator Sucklane Khan. His new documentary channel just exploded. It looked like a total overnight success. But what most people didn't see was his old channel where he had already made over 500 videos. 500! He was honing his skills for years. That first viral video was built on a mountain of invisible work.
All right, this one is how you escape that learning trap we talked about. Before you watch another how-to video, just stop and ask yourself, did I actually apply what I learned from the last one? Don't try to fix everything all at once. Just focus on improving one small thing by 1% in your next video. Maybe it's the audio or the hook or a new editing trick.
That is what real, tangible progress actually looks like.
You know, the internet is just flooded with bad advice, so you need to learn how to spot it. Red flags? Anyone promising you'll go viral overnight? Anyone selling sketchy tricks? Or anyone obsessed with algorithm hacks? Here's the secret they don't tell you. The algorithm isn't a puzzle. It just follows the audience. If you make viewers happy, the algorithm will reward you. That's it. Real advice, the green flags, always focuses on the fundamentals. Just making great videos that a specific audience loves.
Okay, this next one might be the most counterintuitive thing you hear all day. Ready? When you're new, stop trying to be unique. Seriously, your goal isn't to reinvent the wheel. It's just to prove you can make a good, solid wheel. The fastest way to do that is to find what's already working in your niche and replicate the structure. It's not about plagiarism, it's about learning the proven formulas that you already know people respond to.
Now, once you've mastered the formula, then you start to make it your own. Think of it like learning to bake. First, you follow a classic recipe for chocolate chip cookies exactly. Once you know how it works, you can start adding your own spin, maybe some sea salt or brown butter. That's your unique selling point, your USP. It's the you part, your humor, your perspective, that you add on top of a proven formula.
Now let's talk about where to focus your energy, because this is brilliant. On YouTube, that critical 20% of your effort that gets you 80% of your results is the packaging. That means your core idea, your title, and your thumbnail. If those three things don't convince someone to click, the rest of your amazing video just doesn't matter. And the second part is the hook, the first 30 seconds. If that doesn't convince them to stay, the rest of the video still doesn't matter. Get the packaging and the hook right, and you've already won most of the battle.
And finally, we've got three big strategic pillars that hold everything else up. First, you have to define your niche. You need to know exactly who you're making videos for. Second, consistency is just non-negotiable. It's how you build your skills, and it's how you teach the algorithm and your audience what your channel is about. And third, don't be afraid to pivot. If a niche just isn't working, changing it isn't failure. It's a smart, strategic move.
Okay, so we've walked through the path to failure and the playbook for success. Now the spotlight turns to you. It's all about taking this information and actually turning it into action.
If you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. There are no shortcuts. There are no secret hacks. Sustainable growth on YouTube isn't about finding some hidden setting or a magic hashtag. It's about a deep, fundamental shift in your mindset and your entire approach.
I get it. Looking at all 9 of these principles can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to implement all of them today. The journey to the top 1% is made up of a bunch of small, tiny steps. So just pick one. Just one thing you can improve in your very next video.
And that's the final thought I really want to leave you with. Forget about getting 1 million subscribers for now. Just focus on the next 1%. Will you spend 10 extra minutes on your title? Will you try a totally new thumbnail style?